Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're diving into something that's, well, it's pretty close to my heart. Rugged, go-anywhere vehicles. Those classic Scout SUVs. The ones that just seem built for adventure no matter what terrain you threw at them. I bet some of you even owned one back in the day.
I did.
Oh, no way, what model?
A Scout too. Had it all through college, took it everywhere.
That's awesome. Well, get this, they're making a comeback. And as electric vehicles, no less. I'll admit I'm a little skeptical. Can Scout Motors really recapture that legendary spirit while going electric? I don't know. We've got an expert here who knows a lot about the auto industry
Yeah.
and all the latest EV trends. So what do you think? Can they pull it off?
It's definitely a challenge, that's for sure. Blending, that heritage of ruggedness with the whole sleek, efficient electric vibe. I mean, Volkswagen, they're the ones who acquired the Scout brand, right?
Yeah,
And they're launching Scout Motors as the separate thing, focused entirely on EVs.
it's a bold move.
Super bold.
And they're not going after your average commuter with this. They're targeting adventure enthusiasts, people who want that off-road capability, but, also want to be eco-conscious.
Right, exactly. It's like a niche within a niche.
For sure.
They're tapping into this desire for, well, vehicles that can handle tough trails. BUT minimize the impact on the environment. And get this, they've got TWO main models planned. The Scout Traveler SUV and the Scout Terra pickup truck. Which one are you more excited about?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. The Traveler definitely has that adventurous feel, just picturing myself exploring some back roads out in, I don't know, Utah or
Oh,
something.
come on.
But a pickup, you could haul gear, camping equipment, you name it. Decisions.
It's a good problem to have.
That's true. So let's dive into the Traveler a bit. They're projecting a range of 350 miles, which is already pretty solid, right?
Oh, absolutely. For an EV, that's great.
But there's even talk about a range extender option that could boost it to 500 miles. Now, that's practically begging for a cross-country trip.
500 miles. That changes everything for those long adventures, especially if you're going off the grid where charging stations are, few and far between. Basically, the range extender acts like a backup generator, uses a small combustion engine to recharge the battery as you go. Pretty clever way to deal with that range anxiety without giving up electric power for most of the trip.
That range really opens up a lot of possibilities, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And price-wise, it seems like they're trying to keep it attainable. Estimated price tag under $60,000.
Which, if you consider those tax incentives, could be even lower.
Exactly. That could be a game changer for a lot of buyers.
Huge.
But we can't forget about performance, right? They're saying the Traveler will have a towing capacity of 7,000 pounds
7,000 pounds. That's impressive.
and 1,000 pound-feet of torque. What does that even translate to in the real world? Can you break it down for us non-gearheads?
Basically, it means you can haul a lot of stuff. A camper, a boat, all your gear for a big expedition.
I mean, I'm not much of an outdoorsman, but even I'm getting excited about this.
It's tempting, right?
It is. And it's not just about raw power. They're including features that any serious off-roader would love.
Oh, yeah, like what?
A solid rear axle and locking differentials, for example.
Hmm.
Can you explain why those are so important for off-roading, for those of us who don't speak car?
Sure. Think of a solid rear axle as like the ultimate workhorse for off-roading. It's super durable, and it allows for greater wheel articulation, which basically means the wheels can move independently to keep contact with the ground even when it's uneven. Locking differentials are great for when, say, you're trying to climb a steep, rocky hill. If one wheel loses traction, it just spins uselessly. A locking differential kicks in and transfers power to the other wheels that still have grip, helps you get through those tricky spots.
So it's all about maximizing traction and control when things get rough.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, so the Traveler sounds like a serious contender in the off-road EV space. But what about its sibling, the Scout Terra pickup truck? We haven't heard as much about this one.
Yeah, they've been keeping the details pretty close to the vest.
So what do we know?
Well, it seems like they're aiming to compete directly with the big boys. The Ford F-150 Lightning, the Rivian R1T.
Those are some heavy hitters.
They are. But Scout's not backing down. They're using Volkswagen's Scalable Systems Platform, or SSP, which is a modular architecture built specifically for EVs.
Modular architecture. That sounds pretty technical.
It is a bit.
What does it actually mean for the Terra? Like, what are the implications for potential buyers?
Think of SSP like a really versatile foundation. It lets Scout Motors customize the Terra's battery size, motor configuration, even potentially autonomous driving features, all to fit specific market needs.
Ah, so they can really tailor it.
Exactly. This could mean a longer range, better performance, faster charging, all compared to EVs built on those older, more traditional platforms.
It's a strategic move to give the Terra an edge. Then,
Absolutely.
okay, I'm starting to see how that flexibility could be a big advantage. So they've got these two exciting models in the works, but when can we actually expect to see them on the road?
Well, that's the thing. It's still a bit of a wait.
Oh, come on. How long?
They're building a brand new factory in South Carolina. Goal is to start production in 2026, aiming for an output of around 200,000 vehicles per year.
2026, huh? Feels both close and far away at the same time. In the meantime, they've been dropping these little hints about other models they might be working on. They've filed trademarks for names like Scout Reaper.
Scout Reaper, that sounds pretty intense.
Right. And then there are the classics like Scout 2 and Scout Traveler. What do you think? Are they just playing with our nostalgia, or could those be hints at different trim levels or even entirely new models?
I think it's a brilliant marketing tactic. They're tapping into that existing love for the Scout brand,
Right.
while also building hype for what's to come. Scout Reaper, though that name definitely gets the imagination going.
Right. What could that be?
Maybe an even more rugged off-roader.
Yeah.
A performance-focused model, who knows?
That's part of the fun. Speaking of getting excited about the future of Scout, I know you're a big podcast listener. Have you ever found yourself searching for podcasts about specific EV topics and just getting overwhelmed by all the options?
All the time. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Or even worse, you finally find a podcast that looks promising, but then you have to scrub through hours of audio to find that one little nugget of information you're looking for.
Ooh, I hate that.
It's the worst. Well, what if I told you there's a tool that can help you cut through all that clutter?
Really? Tell me more.
It's called podcastworld.io. It's basically like having a personal AI assistant for all your podcast needs. Imagine being able to search for podcasts using natural language, just like you're talking to a person, and then, boom, gives you results that pinpoint the exact segments can answer your questions.
No more endless scrolling or scrubbing.
Exactly.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
I know, right? But it's real. And it's powered by AI, so it goes way beyond simple keyword searches. It understands the context and nuances of your questions, so you get the most relevant podcast segments every time. For example, let's say you're dying to know how the experts are comparing the Scout Traveler to the Rivian R1S. You could just ask podcastworld.io something like, are there any podcasts comparing the Scout Traveler to the Rivian R1S? And it'll show you a list of episodes and even highlight the specific moments where that comparison is discussed.
Wow. That would save me so much time.
I know, right?
It's like a personalized research assistant, just curating the most relevant podcast content for me.
Exactly. And get this, it even has an AI chatbot feature.
No way!
You can actually have conversations with AI versions of your favorite automotive podcast hosts.
Like, I could ask them to clarify points or get their take on the latest developments.
Yep. You can even bounce ideas off them. It's like having a virtual brainstorming session with the experts.
That's amazing. Podcasting has come a long way.
It really has.
So, how would we use this amazing tool for our deep dive into Scout Motors? What kind of questions could we ask podcastworld.io to learn even more?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, let's say you're curious about the potential challenges Scout Motors might face, as they try to revive this legendary brand. You could ask something like, what are the biggest obstacles for Scout Motors? Or, are there any podcasts discussing the potential impact of government regulations on Scout's production timeline?
Ooh, that's a good one. We could also go deeper into the technical side of things, like what are the pros and cons of using Volkswagen's SSP platform for the Scout Terra? Or are there any podcasts analyzing the battery technology Scout Motors plans to use?
You're on a roll. The possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah, you are.
With podcastworld.io, we can really personalize our exploration of Scout Motors, digging deeper into the aspects that we're most curious about. But for now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the challenges ahead for Scout Motors.
Okay, yeah, let's get real.
They've got this amazing legacy to build on, but the EV market is already pretty crowded.
It is. You've got Rivian, Ford, even those legacy brands like Jeep, all going electric.
Exactly. So how does Scout stand out?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. And on top of that, they've got to keep the hype alive for the next few years while they ramp up production.
And the EV world is changing so fast. What if some groundbreaking new battery technology comes out before 2026? That could put them at a real disadvantage.
It's a high-stakes game, that's for sure. But let's not dwell on the potential pitfalls just yet. They do have some serious strengths working in their favor, too. What are some of the advantages they bring to the table?
Well, I mean, they have Volkswagen behind them, right? One of the
Yeah.
biggest names in the auto industry. That gives them resources, technology, engineering know-how, stuff startup just wouldn't have.
That's true. They're not exactly starting from scratch. They're also leveraging a brand that, well, it already has a special place in the hearts of a lot of off-road enthusiasts. That nostalgia factor is pretty powerful.
Oh, yeah, totally. That connection to, adventure ruggedness, it resonates with certain buyers. It creates a sense of authenticity that newer brands just don't have.
It's like they're building on this foundation of trust, a history of delivering vehicles that can handle anything.
Exactly.
And their approach seems very strategic. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're focused on that niche. Those adventurous types who want an EV that can keep up with them off-road?
Right. That focus is key. It lets them tailor their vehicles to that specific audience. Think about it. Rugged tires, high ground clearance, maybe even special off-road driving modes, all those things that serious off-roaders really care about.
They're not just taking an existing SUV or truck and slapping an electric powertrain in it. These vehicles are designed from the ground up to be capable off-roaders.
And don't forget the sustainability angle.
Oh, right. As more people adopt eco-conscious lifestyles, that demand for electric vehicles is only going to grow. And these aren't just for commuting, they're for weekend adventures, too.
Exactly. Scout is in a great position to capitalize on that.
They're offering a way for people to enjoy off-roading without, feeling guilty about their environmental impact.
It's a smart move.
It is. Okay, so let's do a quick recap.
Yeah.
They've got the financial backing, the engineering expertise, the brand recognition, and they're tapping into a growing market with a very targeted approach. But, like we discussed, they've got competition.
Yeah, it's serious competition.
And they've got to keep that hype going for a few years before they can actually deliver.
True. It's a long wait.
It's a fascinating mix of potential and challenges.
Definitely. And this is where a tool like podcastworld.io could be really useful, for anyone who wants to stay up to date on the whole Scout Motors story.
Oh, for sure. Imagine being able to ask podcastworld.io, what are the experts saying about Scout Motors' chances of success? Or even, are there any podcasts comparing the tech behind the Scout Traveler and the Rivian R1S? You'd get insights straight from the automotive world.
And don't forget those AI chatbot conversations. Imagine talking to an AI version of your favorite EV expert, asking them about their take on the Scout Reaper, or how they think the Terra will stack up against the F-150 Lightning.
It's like having a direct line to the experts.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Scout Motors, I want to leave you with a question. Do you think nostalgia alone will be enough to make Scout Motors successful? Or do they need to do more to really stand out in this crowded EV market?
That's the million-dollar question. Nostalgia's powerful, but it's not a guarantee. They'll need to deliver on their promises. Performance, capability, sustainability, that's what will win over buyers today.
And that's why staying informed is so important. Tools like podcastworld.io can help you keep up with the EV revolution. You can follow the Scout Motors journey and make your own conclusions.
Absolutely. It's all about making those informed choices.
Right. Whether you're, actually thinking about buying an electric vehicle or you just want to stay in the loop, podcastworld.io can connect you with those voices and perspectives that you care about. And hey, maybe you'll even find some new favorite podcasts along the way.
Always a good thing.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Scout Motors, I think the big takeaway is this. The story's still being written.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The EV landscape is changing all the time. There are bound to be twists and turns.
It's going to be fun to watch it all unfold.
It is. We'll be keeping a close eye on it for sure.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe one day we'll be taking a road trip in a Scout Traveler, powered by nothing but electrons and a sense of adventure. Thanks for joining us on this electrifying journey. We'll see you next time.